More than 100 years ago, the world had experienced a deadly pandemic, the Spanish flu. Masina Hospital in Mumbai was one of the rare private hospitals to treat patients infected with the flu in 1918-19. I spoke to Masina Hospital's present CEO, Dr. Vispi Jokhi, to take us down the memory lane. Take us through it. You must have heard those stories from people about how Spanish flu was, and if you could enlighten us on that.
100 years is a very, very long period in any institution's history. And there has been a lot of things happening in the hospital. And historical records of such a long time are difficult to collate. Mm-hmm. Now, in the recent past, we have been making an attempt to, make all the historical documents available and try and, figure out what is coming out of all those documents. And we have had some surprises. We have got some documents which are as old as 1819. Okay. So, we've got very, very old documents in the hospital also. And, but on the other hand, there are gaps in the documents. And there are a lot of documents in between which are not available. But as we understand in the 1918s, whatever we know is that the Spanish flu came as a result of the World War. In the sense, there was some migration of people coming from the ships in the Western India. They typically came from the docks, and we are very close to the docks area. So it is very likely that we had patients of Spanish flu in our hospital. Also, that the attempt in those days, also like it is to some extent now, was to suppress this news because we are under British rule. So if there was a kind of word that there is a lot of deaths and people are not available for use in the World War effort, then it would hamper the World War effort of the the government of the day. So even probably, the fear must have been there to not keep too much of this as a record. So there is not that much available as far as this particular thing is concerned. However, knowing Mr. Hormuzji Masina, our founder, he was a very philanthropic and a very well-meaning doctor who really cared for the poor. So in that is the reason why I feel that we must have put in a lot of effort and treated a lot of patients of Spanish flu in those days.
So just coming back to your hospital, what is the real connect between your hospital and what happened in 1918? There must have been other hospitals in the city also. So why only Masina Hospital that is at the center of it?
No, it is not. See, in 1918, there were hospitals only in the public domain. Means there were Grant Medical College and probably those other hospitals were there. But there was the private hospitals all came after us. So even the Harkisan Das Hospital, Pasi General Hospital, and all these hospitals are pretty old. They came a few years after we came in. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure those hospitals were existing in those times. And they also must have had their share of people who may have got treatment for Spanish flu.
Who really funded this hospital? Where did the investments come from? Were there any big corporate groups?
In those days, there were. Our historical records show that there were a few Parsi philanthropists, including the Petit family, to some extent, people from. I don't remember the names as such; they don't come to mind. But there were at least 4 or 5 Parsi benefactors who gathered together and created a trust and gave some money to Masina.
Okay. What about now? How is this hospital being run, and who are the people funding?
Today, it's a secular hospital. In the mid 50s or somewhere, we were a Parsi hospital to begin with, but we became a secular hospital, and it's a Parsi trust, a Parsi owned trust. means all the trustees by default are Parsis, and it is run as a charitable trust hospital with funding from various philanthropic organizations, and we generate our own revenues from the patients that we are treating.
Mhm. Any prominent names who are on the board?
Mr. Shapur Mistry is our chairman. He is the chairman of Shapurji Palanji
Right,
group of Shapurji Palanji Corporation Limited.
right.
And Mr. Homi Katkara, he is from G9 company, which is also a very old logistic company. And the third person is Mr. Bharjo Rantia, who is a solicitor from Mullah and Mullah,
Right.
which is also a big firm.
So these trustees and people on the board, who are older than some of the contemporaries who are running the hospital, they would have some recollections from the people. They must have heard some stories about the Spanish flu. So what is it that they have to say? I just want to capture whether the Spanish flu 100 years ago was the most dangerous flu, or is it COVID-19 right now?
So there were, I think, two events which were medical events in those days: the plague and the Spanish flu.
Right.
And there is a lot of documentation on plague which is available. There's not that much on Spanish flu. And my guess is the reason for this is this, what I said in the beginning, that there was an attempt to suppress the documentation of Spanish flu to a large extent. And therefore, people were, I think, wary of keeping too much documentation. Because I have been searching high and low for even, see, there are photographs which are available in this, which are quite old, but yet there is nothing of that time available.
What about, medicines, vaccines, anything that you've heard of at that time? What happened? How were people treated then?
I think there were, I really don't know, because they were treated like a simple flu. And I think there was a lot of masks which were occurring, and there was even oxygen given at that time. And that is there in the sense that I can say that the present hospital building, the present building in which we are working was used as a hospital. Now we don't even use it as a hospital. So the very fact that there are certain pipelines and gas connections available in the hospital means that there was oxygen supplied even in those times.
Any pharma companies that you've heard of, or any vaccine makers, who were doing anything?
No, I think the vaccinations didn't come so quickly in those days. Influenza vaccine is a thing which is happening presently,
Right.
not in the past.
So, I was reading a bit on this, and I read that, quarantining and social distancing, that was like pretty much it,
Yes, that's pretty much the same. But we don't have any documentation for that. I'm just trying to say that all that is there.
Yeah, I understand. But just, hearsay also, you get to know a lot of things.
Unfortunately, nobody can be as old as 100 years. And I mean, today it's like, even Mr. Bharjo Rantia is the oldest trustee in our hospital, is 86 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So that itself is still way away from the 1918 pandemic.
But he would have heard something from his father or grandfather, I mean, that's how we learn about things.
I've been talking to various people, but I have not done anything from that point of view.
But, any lessons to be drawn from, what happened, the pandemic 100 years ago, and that was supposed to be the biggest pandemic so far at that point. And now that, you are treating patients for COVID-19 in this hospital, what are the lessons that you've drawn from there?
Yeah, it's again come in multiple waves. Even the last time it came in multiple waves. This again, and the second wave again last time was also most devastating compared to the first. And then it came in multiple waves, and again there was no vaccine in those days, so it died out only by herd immunity. But the loss of life in those days was high. But yet, if you look at the figures, I mean, I have seen some historical records which show that there were days on which in Mumbai about 200 people died a day. But still today also we are seeing that kind of numbers, maybe a little more, because the population in those days is much lesser than what is there today. So the deaths have been occurring to that extent.
what about the end of the pandemic? That's one question that people are asking, that, will this pandemic, COVID-19, will it end? And as a doctor, what do you think? And what happened then at that time? How did the end come?
Every pandemic ends in the and it'll definitely end. That is true. But what will happen is that just like you will have some kind of testing which will be required, some kind of immunization will be required for forever. In the sense that probably you'll end up with a situation where everybody will have to be immunized on a regular basis, which is what is expected. But every pandemic will ultimately end when the mutants die out and everything. The population gets infected, and there are not enough to infect each other, which is ultimately herd immunity, aided by vaccination.
Okay. Right now, do you think lockdowns help in containing the spread, or?
Yes, I think a lockdown will help. I personally, if you ask me, I believe that instead of, relaxing and then again landing up with problems, we should have a lockdown for a little longer period of time, and ensure that everybody in the population is vaccinated.
Do you agree with the vaccination policy right now that the government has, or you think it could have been done better?
I'd rather not comment on that.
All right. And you were, just going back to what you said early, that, documents are being procured, whatever little you're trying to save. How is it?
Anything, definitely let you know. If you find anything related to Spanish flu, I'll definitely let you know. Even now, we are searching for more, but most of the search is over. In the last 8 months, we have employed a group of persons who are in the field of document preservation, and we have given them all the old documents which are available, and they have been searching and cataloging them. We've got some very old documents, but nothing about the Spanish flu. We've got documents of treatment also, but not of Spanish flu.
Okay, so how many such documents are you, researching on and trying to preserve? Is there any number to it? Sorry?
I can't say the number, but about 300 to 400 such documents.